Everything about this monitor it's massive. Its brightness, massive. Its color reproduction, massive. Its feature set, massive. Its price tag, also massive. This is the ASUS ROG Swift OLED PG49WCD super ultra-wide gaming monitor, and you're about to discover the pros and cons of this massive monitor right here, right now on Robeytech. We're back here with another in-depth monitor review right here at Robeytech, but since we did our first guide to super ultra-wide monitors video, we had a few that really stood out to us. And this video is going to be that, like, kind of a bit of a side story or a continuation on from that video. Now, for ease of listening and speaking, we're gonna be calling it the monitor throughout this video. Now, we did consider calling it the Swift, but those dad jokes would just chiefly be tailored to one direction, and I have a reputation to uphold. Now, with all that in mind, let's get to know the monitor a little bit better, starting with the price. At the time of this video, the monitor retailed around $1,200, which, I'll be honest, is a bit of an investment, but it's still a few $100s less than its retail price of $1,500. Now, this new price tag puts it in line with monitors like the Samsung Odyssey G9 and the MSI 491CQP. Now, I'm honestly convinced that monitor naming is it's literally this. It's just grabbing a keyboard, taking off your glasses, and just rolling it just like that. And like all those behemoths we had just mentioned, it's important to point out that the monitor is a 49-inch super ultra-wide monitor. That means that instead of the 16:9 aspect ratio we typically see in regular widescreen monitors, this one is 32:9. So it's like having two 24.5-inch monitors strapped together in glorious harmony. And with some of the ASUS features, you can either use this one as a gargantuan panel or connect two devices and use it as two monitors in one package. But we're gonna get a little ahead of ourselves, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, with a monitor like this one, you're gonna need at least 4 or 5 feet worth of space to work with, whether that's on top of a desk or mounted on a wall. And yes, the monitor does come with an ROG wall mounting kit. But since this is a VESA mount, you can use this to mount one monitor arm as well, if your arm supports beefy monitors like this one. And if you're worried about the weight, the monitor weighs just under 26 pounds, or under 12 kilograms assembled. But the panel itself only weighs about 19 pounds or 8.5 kilograms. So it comes close to the weight of an empty PC case, but it definitely has a different center of gravity. Now, the actual assembly of the monitor is super simple. It has a heavy asymmetrical base that secures into the equally hefty vertical stand with a screw that you can tighten by hand. If you really want to tighten it down, it does have a Phillips head on it too. So you just make sure it's extra secure. Just be careful not to strip it out. Once that's in place, the stand has a few tabs that slide right into the back of the monitor alongside a latch release. It's super easy. As for adjustments, the monitor has some vertical tilt, height, and side swivel adjustments. It's not too much, but it's slightly more than the Aorus monitor we reviewed a few months back, which you can check out right here. Now, this is great if you tend to sit off-center from your desk and you need some more adjustments, or if you have to angle this thing to fit in a corner. What's also cool about the stand is that it has a spot to mount a webcam, which is great if you plan to use this monitor for streaming or making video calls. It's always good to have options. Now that we know all about the physical dimensions, let's get into the specs. And we're gonna list out the monitor details on screen, but some important features include it's a QD OLED panel, it's 144 Hz refresh rate, it's 99% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, it's a 0.03 millisecond response time, 10-bit color depth, and more. What this spec sheet doesn't capture is how absolutely captivating the monitor's colors were out of the box. I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but this thing definitely got some verbal wows out of the Robeytech team. For one, it's WD OLED, but for another, it just really is that stunning in person. But a monitor is only as good as what you connect it to, and for the connections, the monitor has one HDMI 2.1 port, one DisplayPort 1.4 port, 4 USB Type-A ports, one USB Type-C port with 90-watt power delivery, one USB 3.2 Type-B port, a headphone jack, and actually more. We alluded to this a bit earlier, but with the USB Type-C and the Type-B ports, you can connect two devices to the monitor and share connected peripherals between them. If you aren't familiar, this feature is known as KVM, or Keyboard Video Mouse. What makes this even cooler is that not only do you have the ability to share a keyboard, mouse, and monitor, you're also able to share a webcam, a controller, or Steam Deck between devices too. But wait, there's more. ASUS has a piece of software called Smart KVM that allows you to not only share devices across two platforms, but you can run them side by side on the same monitor and seamlessly work between the two. You can also share files, copy and paste between platforms, and so much more. This is great if you're someone who needs to multitask a lot, but you have a limited space for a secondary workstation. For example, if you use a laptop for work-related tasks next to a desktop that needs every last bit of system resources to do intensive workloads like rendering videos, this right here could actually be a game changer. Now, the downside here is that you do lose some features like HDR and variable refresh rate, so you could use this picture-by-picture mode with Smart KVM, but you're gonna need to lock your frame rates and turn off HDR if hypothetically you were, gonna do some gaming while working. Not that anybody does that, right? I mean, none of us game and work at the same time, right? Yeah. You know it's you. Now, what you're also not gonna do is play sound through the monitor, at least not with this one, because it doesn't have built-in speakers. This might be a little bit of a bummer for the gamer who keeps a console on their desk, but it really isn't a huge surprise. I imagine the typical user who's looking at a monitor that costs this much money usually has like a soundbar or speakers or headphones that really want to match the visual quality of the display. But if not, and you're one of those people who's like, dang it, that's a deal breaker, then I'm sorry. ASUS has, however, included both a headphone and an SPDIF out connection to the monitor. So you could still get sound from a console to a PC. You just need to connect your speakers to the monitor rather than the device. Now, if you've ever set up a home theater, this idea is probably not foreign to you, but it's worth mentioning. Now, one last note on features before we move on to the monitor. It has AMD FreeSync Premium Pro certification, and it's also G-Sync compatible. On the AMD side, this means that the monitor has low frame rate compression, offers a tear-free experience, supports AMD FreeSync HDR, and meets specific requirements for size and refresh rates. Now, on the NVIDIA side, it pretty much means the same thing. It's got variable refresh rate certification. It ensures that the experience you're going to be having while using this monitor is free from image tearing and artifacting, while also meeting specific requirements for size and refresh rate. Both of these things are actually good to see, but at this price, a little surprised not to see G-Sync certification, not just G-Sync compatible. Now that we know all about the features, let's round out the details by taking a look at what's in the box. The monitor comes with a panel, a monitor stand, and a base, along with an ROG branded HDMI, DisplayPort, and USB Type-B and Type-C cables, a power cable, wall mounting kit, a quick start guide, a warranty card, and stickers. And I mean, come on, the stickers put it over the top. There is also a display report card showing factory calibration results for your actual panels. And we actually certified that these are correct on other monitors. So these are actually pretty cool. And you can also put the stickers, the ROG stickers on your fridge. Oh, and the monitor's accessory also comes packed in a nice ROG zippered bag, like we saw in the ASUS ROG Swift OLED PG49WCD, which you should definitely check out right here. Now, if you watched that video, or maybe you're gonna watch it afterwards, we shared a bit about the warranty card and what you actually get with it. This one, though, is slightly different, and we're gonna lay it out here. Basically, the monitor has a 2-year warranty that does cover panel burn-in. ASUS also has disclosed what's called their bright/dark dot pixel policy, which you can find on their warranty site. ASUS also offers advanced rapid replacement if something goes catastrophically wrong with the monitor while under warranty. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean like a meteor hits it or like you use it to stop a robbery, but you can check out what it means on the warranty site. So there is actually some really good peace of mind here, but if you've been putting off the OLED plunge out of fear of burn-in and you still need a bit more peace of mind, the monitor does offer a number of ways to protect against burn-in. From a hardware perspective, ASUS has done a few things to keep the monitor's heat in check, including the addition of a custom-designed heatsink, thermal pads, graphene film to dissipate heat, and a venting layout to help air effectively move throughout the monitor. We don't often think about dealing with heat and ventilation with monitors, but ASUS is. And that's just on the hardware side. Now, on the software side, ASUS has several features wrapped into their OLED Care suite. These includes options to keep brightness levels consistent, screen move pixel shift to keep the image from being static for too long, a target mode that dims the entire screen except the window you're using. It's got a screensaver, taskbar detection, and more. ASUS also has a pixel cleaning option that will detect and correct any pixels that are in need of actual correcting. Now, these are just a few of the features, but from my experience with ASUS OLEDs, the whole auto dimming thing kind of trips me out. I was in like a Teams meeting with part of the Robeytech team, and when this feature was basically, it shifts the focus and it auto dims the screen. It was weird watching the color drain from our producer Jasmine's face, though I'm not sure if that was because of the monitor or if it was because of my dad jokes, but regardless, you might have to do some things to get it to shift, and there's some things that you can play with if you don't want it to be on all the time. All of these OLED care options and more can be accessed through the monitor's menus, but you do have two options for how you can control them. Now, for external controls, the monitor has a 5-way toggle located on the back side of the panel right in the center of the monitor with a button for power and one to close the menu on either side. Now, while the controller knob serves as a navigation tool for OSD or on-screen display, you can use the ASUS display widget software to actually change settings as well. You can do things like edit hotkeys and access the OLED care features. Display widget is honestly a really handy app, especially if you'd rather change your settings from your desktop UI rather than your OSD. Just know that you actually have to have your USB connected for this to be able to work. Okay, we've given you a ton of information about the monitor, but now it's time to talk about the performance and our experience with it, which is really kind of why you're here. Now, to test the monitor, we checked for things like image ghosting, we ran the ISO monitor test for things like color uniformity and distinction, and we played a ton of games on it that we are absolutely familiar with, so we could actually tell the difference in terms of the experience. Now, at 144 Hz, the monitor really doesn't give us any issues with image ghosting. The inclusion of G-Sync compatibility and FreeSync Premium Pro helped this thing stay super smooth during our experience with it, whether that was gaming or running Test UFO. And speaking of gaming, in our gaming test, we played Microsoft Flight Sim, which is incredible on a super ultra-wide. Forza Motorsport, again, amazing on an ultra-wide. Destiny 2, Helldivers 2, and more to see how immersive this gaming experience could be. Each of these titles had good super ultra-wide support, which is definitely something you want to look into if you're considering buying a monitor like this. As for the experience, the monitor did not disappoint. The response to the monitor was so fluid, and the depth of color was absolutely stunning. And remember, guys, we have tested a lot of these monitors, and when we played on them, we were absolutely like, wow. In games like Flight Sim and Forza, the monitor really immerses you in the sim flight and sim racer experiences. With games like Destiny 2, you basically highlighted the monitor's like vividly contrasting colors. And speaking of colors, during the ISO test, we saw incredible gradients, text reproduction, viewing angles, and color accuracy. The only issue with the monitor was that we had to move on to test other products, unfortunately. So with all that in mind, now for the question, is the ASUS ROG Swift OLED PG49WCD worthy of becoming your next gaming monitor? Now, for starters, I think ASUS needs to call this the WOLED because, you know, we were blown away by the depth of color and the HDR, the smoothness of the picture, and the tactile feel of the material. Heck, the feature set had a nice array of options that we could see coming in handy for a ton of different users. That being said, you really need to know what you're getting yourself into with the super ultra-wide monitor. If you haven't watched or earmarked it yet, you really should watch our ultra-wide buyer's guide. With videos like this, they're essentially extensions of that, and that video really breaks down the cost of running a monitor at this size and what it takes. And speaking of cost, there's both the cost in terms of physical space and the financial costs that are worth considering here. The physical space cost, it's kind of easy to figure out. Do you have 4 to 5 feet of desktop space to work with? If not, your OLED princess might be in another castle. If so, well, let's continue. Now, the financial cost is another discussion entirely and a bit more subjective, as everyone is willing to spend more on some features because they're more valuable to them. Still, the monitor, it's expensive, and it has some healthy competition from outside of ASUS and inside, even at the reduced price after launch. The Samsung Odyssey OLED G9 matches the monitor's price, and even though it has a lower contrast ratio and minimum brightness, as well as that pesky mini HDMI connector, it also has a 240 Hz refresh rate. That being said, if you like what ASUS is doing with their monitors and you're willing to trim 10 inches off your total screen size, ASUS has the 240 Hz 39-inch ROG Swift OLED PG49WCD, or you can spend $100 more. And there's also the 32-inch 4K 240 Hz and 1080p 480 Hz PG32UCDP, which you can actually watch our review of, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. Again, it's a high price, and there are a number of options that sit within this range, as well as a bunch that cost a whole lot less. And if $1,200 is outside of your budget, and you just don't have the space, but you like what ASUS is doing with their monitors, you know what? That 27-inch PG27 AQDM may be a better fit for you. As for the refresh rate situation, the difference in refresh rate actually may not be that big of a deal to you, especially if you play cinematic titles with all the features like HDR, ray tracing, and lens flare, and ocular occlusion cranked all the way up. Now, unless you're running like a 4070 Ti or higher, you may not even be hitting that 144 frames per second mark. So going over 144 Hz may not be a need for you. Then again, 4K might be at this level. Listen, We say this all the time, but you need to know your system, your needs, and what is most valuable to you. And speaking of value, I know this has been pretty much a largely positive review, and there are probably a few of you thinking, but Robey, what about the ROG tax? Surely there are some other monitors out there that do the same things, right? Well, we spent a lot of time with 3 of the monitor's closest competitors. We got ones from Gigabyte, Samsung, and MSI. And while all of them have features about them that are definitely worth consideration, we just kept coming back to the ASUS. Not only was it the easiest to set up, but it took us far less time to figure out the quirks, and it was one of the 2 that really wowed us with the color and picture right away. It's still more expensive, but we can definitely see where those dollars are going, and they're going towards more than the name. So when we boiled it all down, if you're looking for a super ultra-wide monitor that's not only just has stunning colors, but it has a set of features that, help care for the display in the long term, function as a side-by-side monitor for 2 different devices, or you just really like that webcam mount on the stand, the ASUS ROG Swift OLED PG49WCD is just as massive on every level if you decide that massive is right for you. And that wraps this one up. And we want to give a huge shout out to ASUS for giving us so much time with the ROG Swift PG49WCD for this review. We think it's a stunner, but we want to know what you think. And are there features in QD OLED monitors or super wide, ultra wide monitors that you're still waiting for before you make that investment? Let us know all that down in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure you slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring the notification bell so that you get a notification each and every time we post a video like this right here on Robeytech. And if you want to continue the conversation, or maybe this video didn't quite answer what you wanted to know about the monitor, head over to our Discord server, discord.gg/Robeytech. Amazing place to talk to other like-minded tech and PC enthusiasts who love to have these very same conversations. You know what? You might just make a friend. Also, follow us on all the other socials right here at Robeytech, absolutely everywhere. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.